For 2 long weeks I've watched the blade take shape, though the work is even slower now. Masamune-san can only heat one small section at a time. A perfect sword is worth as much as $15,000. But this is no place to make mistakes. Only 1 in 5 swords is completely free of cracks or blemishes, and there's no way to tell until the work is done. This much I have learned. Sword making is hard and grueling work that's only bearable if you love the blade, like life itself. Though I'm told it doesn't hurt to know a few tricks now and then. If you heat a sword, then plunge it into cold water, it gets very hard. But the exact temperature is critical, and was once so secret that the punishment for trying to find out was death. The trick, Masamune tells me, is to coat the entire blade with clay, so that it doesn't cool down too fast in the water bath, and stays a little flexible. Masamune then scrapes the clay off the cutting edge, so that it gets as big a shock as possible, and becomes extremely hard. Then Roberto shuts the forge up, and turns out the lights. Masamune gauges the temperature of the fire by the color of the flame. He uses no thermometer. If he makes a small miscalculation at this point, the sword will crack, and all his work will go to waste. And the waiting list for Masamune's sword is 4 years long. So there's little time to celebrate. The blade must go directly to a master polisher, who turns out to be his apprentice, Roberto. With nothing but his eye to guide him, he will spend the next 8 days grinding the blade, using stones of increasing fineness, and water as a lubricant. Tools that haven't changed for 1,000 years. Roberto is 26. He left his home in Brazil 3 years ago to dedicate his life to swords. Unlike most sword makers, who tend to specialize, Roberto is learning how to forge and polish. He says he must know everything about the sword in order to make them well. But Roberto must do more than just learn the proper skills. He must control his thoughts. While his hands are busy polishing the blade's edge, his state of mind will shape the blade's soul. It's more than just a job. It's a sacred responsibility. Roberto speaks and writes Japanese, and will soon become a citizen. He recently married the daughter of a famous sword polisher. Every sword Roberto polishes is inspected by his adopted father, Kamakura-san. He's 90 years old, and a little hard of hearing. To Nakamura-san, the sword is the symbol of the Japanese spirit, and embodies all the virtues that his countrymen should strive for. Young people nowadays, he tells me, no longer live the way of the sword. They're corrupted, and do too many American things. They will come to no good. Nakamura-san is not an easy man to please. Luckily, he thinks Roberto is something of an exception. Although he's a foreigner, Roberto understands the values of respect and loyalty. Though he should get up earlier and study more. Nakamura-san used to train for hours every day. He still goes on occasion to practice iaido, cutting techniques. During feudal times, new swords were often tested on the bodies of criminals. The torso cut. And then, it's Roberto's turn. He is living the way of the warrior, perfecting his skill at the sword, and pledging absolute obedience to his superiors. Though Roberto may not realize it, he's doing the impossible. He's becoming Japanese. But even for Roberto, success is far from guaranteed. In 2 years, he will test to become a licensed swordmaker. He will do it after only 5 years of apprenticeship, not the usual 10. That's an extraordinary achievement. But if he succeeds, he will create a dilemma that the country's traditional sword-making society has never had to face. Masamune's family have been swordmakers for 24 generations, but his only son wants to be an opera singer. He must choose one of his apprentices to be the 25th in line. Problem is, the best one by far isn't Japanese.